Hey everyone, what we're going to do today is a typical craw jig that I normally tie, but the difference is this is going to be a shellback craw. It's going to be a little different, but basically the same type of craw, uh, just a little uh, twist thrown in there. So what we what I've done here with this one is I used to tie uh, a shellback craw a long time ago. I stopped doing them because they took a long time, and I got frustrated at one time. I was out fishing, and in 3 casts, I lost 2 of the jigs that I tied, and I thought I just ain't going to spend a lot of time doing these anymore. And it's hard to do on camera as well, because what I used was a product called Swiss Straw, and since I didn't use a UV resin, I thought it was a little expensive to coat the Swiss straw the way I needed to get that shellback look. Uh, I used epoxy, and it just took a long time to cure, and it just wasn't feasible to do on camera, and it wasn't working for me fishing. Not that it didn't work, but it's kind of frustrating losing them after you spend so much time on them. But I found a new product, new to me, that I never tried before, and I decided I took a leap of faith because I didn't know what to expect, and it's this thin skin. Comes in a pack like this. This color is called Mottled Oak, and it's olive. There's a whole bunch of different finishes for this stuff, but this is what I got to try out, and I tied a couple up with it, and I really like it, so we're going to do one today. So in the vise, we have a 1/4 ounce football jig. I took the barb off, and it's got a Owner 5316 2X strong jig hook. Uh, Anything when this hook came out, I was using it with spinning, but I fished this on a 7-foot medium powered casting rod with a 12-pound line, and I had no issues whatsoever with this hook. This is a 2X strong. This is a stout hook. So if you want to make something like this in this size with this particular hook, um, I would recommend 10-pound line minimum. Uh, that's what I would throw this on, minimum 10 to 12-pound line. Uh, that's what you're looking at with the strength of this hook, because it's also wide. You know, the thinner the wire the hook, the lighter the line you could use. It penetrates easier. With this being an Owner hook, it is wicked sharp. So you could probably get away with 8-pound, but I fished this on 10-pound. So we're going to start now. We're going to take some super glue brush on, and I'm going to put some on the collar. The color of the jig, by the way, is Magic Craw. It's that green pumpkin blue. I don't know if you can tell with my lighting, but it's basically green pumpkin with a blue tint. There's blue pearlescence through it. I really like it. So we're going to use some black 210 denier flat wax nylon thread for this. We'll get our base started up here. The pattern of this craw is going to be a blue craw. And we're going to wrap it all the way down in between the hook point and the barb. And we're going to start with some Arctic Fox body hair, not the tail. And we're going to use this Kingfisher blue. And I'm going to put it on the top of the jig here and split the hook. You want it maybe, pull some of them long ones out, anywhere from a 1/2 inch to an inch past the bend of the hook. It's up to you how much. The longer past the hook you go, a little bit with this kind of hair, the more action you have. Bucktail, you can obviously go a little bit shorter. It's just there for profile purposes. So now we're going to take some olive Arctic fox body hair. You can use marabou or craft fur for this as well. And I'm going to split the hook and go over top of the blue. I want it to mix in there. It's blue craw, and around my area, when you see that molting craw deal where they get this color, uh, there's olive in with it. They're not always completely blue. And that's the craws I'm talking about. So I like to mix it in, you know, change up the colors a little bit. Plus it's different than, you know, what most other people are throwing. I know I have a problem with hair sticking to me. Does anybody else have that issue? Okay, I trim this stuff off and I go to throw it in my scrap bin and it just wants to stick to my fingers. Now the one thing I'm not adding, you can make eyes out of monofilament, and you could buy them too. They call them shrimp eyes. I did add them in before, but they're kind of a pain to tie in, and I really don't think they add much to it. But you can if you want, depending on the level of realism you want to get. So we got that our this hair tied in. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to take some olive ultra chenille. This is the medium. And we're going to make our little chenille ball for our claws. Of course, I take the end off. Ultra chenille I like for this because it doesn't take many wraps and it's very hard to take the end off the material. It's kind of, you realize how durable this chenille is. So we are going to take this and make our little ball. Oh, hold on. I forgot something. See? I'm getting ahead of myself before I do this chenille. I'm going to take the thin skin. And that's this. I already measured it out and cut a piece. A little over an inch long, about an inch and an eighth or so. And what I want to do is I'm going to take the front of this and I'm going to make a little notch. Doesn't have to be perfect. See, make it look like home plate. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this on here. We're just going to make a wrap to hold it here until we get it positioned. Because it's got to stay like this until we get our chenille tied in, and we're going to have our claws tied in. This is the hardest part of this whole thing, is getting that situated to get started, because you got to make sure it's centered as well. Now we're going to put our chenille in. And that's it, just 2 wraps. Just enough to make a little ball to get some separation on our claws. Cut that off. And then we're going to put our claws in. In this case, we're using blue. Now I already pre-cut these, but again, you want them to go about the end of the mouth parts. somewhere in around that general vicinity. However long you make that, the longer you make the mouth parts, the longer you might want them claws to extend. That's all depend. Like if you want your action the claws mainly, that's what you want to show up. You want to make your mouth parts the where we tied this fox hair, and you want to make that shorter. If you want some action, which is why I'm using the Arctic fox hair on here, you're going to want to make these longer and the claws a little bit shorter. And I get these positioned right, and then I'll lash them down. So far, so good. I think. Yeah, we're good. So now I got to take some wire. And this is small gold wire. And I want it small because normally you use medium for this kind of thing. But being that it's only a 1/0 hook, to get some definition in that thin skin when we tighten it down, when we wrap the wire around, we want it so it pulls down, you can see the segments, and the gold adds a little bit of flash. You could use small black, but I think the small wire is the way to go. Tie that in there, and I'm going to fold this over a little bit. And the reason I'm folding it over is to make it durable, so that wire can never pull out, even though it'll be wrapped. So we have our wire in. Now we're going to take our thin skin and move that up. We're not going to put it down yet. I'm just going to get it in position. And now we're going to make a dubbing loop, because we're going to use some dubbing in here. I want my fingers to move some of that. Sometimes this rabbit gets a little unruly. And then we'll work it back up. And now I'm going to take, this is olive brown ice dub. See, I even got rabbit hair in that. Get my dubbing tool ready. Again, I got to pull this rabbit fur away, otherwise it'd get caught in my dubbing loop. And we're going to spin it. You can use this, you can do chenille and a feather, you know, like a woolly bugger, and then put the thin skin over top. It works just the same. It's pretty tight. So I'm going to wrap this. Have to hold on to it so it doesn't unravel. Well, I think I'm going to get lucky on this. Sometimes I have to make a second dubbing loop. On this one, I'm not going to have to. It's going to work. I'll trap it down. That was lucky. Now we're going to take our thin skin, and you see why I notched it out there for the claws. And we're going to fold our thin skin over, and we're going to take our gold wire here. I'm going to make one wrap underneath the thin skin, that way I can bring it up, and when I wrap it, it's straight across instead of on a diagonal. You want to make sure your ends are straight. You don't want to catch the ends of this thin skin. Now I got that first one. I'm going to have a little bit of distance, and then the next couple wraps are going to be close together, so you have that difference in the segments. And one more. Catch it. And I take a little different scissors here, cheap pair that I could use to cut this wire and not worry about my good ones. And then we'll cut our thin skin. You want to pull on it to create some tension. We're just about done. We're going to take my whip finish tool, if I remember what I did with it. Huh. Seems like I misplaced it. Oh, I found it. I apologize. I have a little Sterilite container that I keep my tools in. And one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. We're going to take a little head cement. And we're going to use a bodkin to apply it. Yeah, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's just a normal craw. You're just giving it a little bit of a different look. And you'll see it in the water. I'll put this in the tank. And we got enough head cement. But we're still not done. I'm going to take a little dubbing brush tool here. And we're going to rough out that dubbing for our legs. And trim some of the real long stuff off. And I'll show you what we have. We are done. To get that fox hair straightened out now from the thin skin. But that is our little shellback crawfish. You can see what that thin skin does. Gives it a little different look, a little different profile. Have the dubbing there, have our little dubbing legs coming out. But that's it. Nothing too complicated. Like I said, the thin skin really makes it easy compared to how I used to do it with the raffia or Swiss straw, whatever you want to say. But I mean, tell me that ain't a sweet little craw profile. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.